Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry for the wait. I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seats. Today and the next video, I wanted to talk about two industries that are big contributors globally to climate change. I'm focusing on these two in particular because I think they're the most disruptible at an individual level. And what I mean by that is just that one person doing one thing to not support these industries goes a really long way. So the first industry is the animal agriculture industry, and the second industry is the fast fashion industry. So in part one of this video, which is coming after this, I didn't like my intro, so I refilmed it. Is coming after this, you'll hear me talk about animal agriculture and veganism. Sorry, I know no one wants to hear about it, but you're going to. And then the next video I put out after this will be about fast fashion. So I hope you enjoy. I saw something somewhere that said that it was hypocritical to call yourself an environmentalist or say you care about the earth and eat meat. And it was the first time I had ever heard that claim. I remember where I was when I read this. It was because it changed my perspective that much. So I went home, did some research, which I encourage everyone to do. Even if you're watching this video, I encourage you to, do your own personal research and, see what sticks out to you, because that was a very pivotal moment for me, just reading that. I know veganism is a tricky topic, but I'm gonna do my best not to sound like I'm preaching at anyone. I don't want to make it seem like I'm judging anyone for their choices or, shaming anyone. And I know veganism is not accessible to everyone, but I'm trying to, show that it can be. It's definitely a privilege, but I want to highlight why everyone should try and go vegan, or at least reduce their animal product consumption. To do that, I pulled some stats from climatenexus.org. A lot of people, I'm sure, have heard that animal agriculture is a huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. Now, that doesn't really mean anything unless there's a number attached to it. So the animal agriculture industry specifically, under the umbrella of general agriculture, contributes 75 to 80% of greenhouse gas emissions when you look at all of agricultural emissions. 75 to 80% of all of the emissions just come from animal agriculture. So only 20 to 25% plants and grains and other things that are grown. So something to think about. That kind of puts it in perspective alone. But within that umbrella of animal agriculture, that sector is responsible for 5% of global anthropological carbon dioxide emissions, 44% of anthropological methane emissions, and methane is 34 times as potent as carbon dioxide over a course of 100 years. So pretty scary numbers. Anthropological means human-made, for anyone that didn't know. That's kind of all that I needed to hear to go vegetarian, at least. My story with going vegan and vegetarian wasn't exactly linear. I wasn't cold turkey one day, I just went vegan. But it definitely was more gradual. So that's all that I needed to read to cut red meat out of my diet right away. I also wanted to touch on the fact that animal agriculture is the largest contributor, single-handedly the largest contributor to global water pollution, and it's linked to 75% of Amazon deforestation. And this is because 70 billion animals per year are raised strictly for consumption. It's a lot of animals. It takes up about a third of the land that isn't covered in ice on Earth. 16% of the world's global freshwater is allocated for animal agriculture. So just the water usage alone to power that industry is ridiculous. 16% to one thing is unfathomable to me. 1/3 of global grain production is also allocated to feeding the animals, feeding the 70 billion animals. So that kind of segues me into my next point about how eating animals is the least efficient way to feed a human. A cow is not made to be eaten. I don't think that's controversial, but I know other people will. But if a cow eats a certain serving of grains, it's not inherently designed to just grow meat. So the cow has to work really hard from that one serving of grain to be building all of the meat. So if we just like theoretically were to eat that grain ourselves that is fed to animals, it would be a much more efficient way to get the nutrients we need. Another thing worth mentioning about the meat industry is not necessarily within like agriculture, but just like in the grocery store. If you can picture walking down the meat aisle or like the butcher's area of a grocery store, everything is pretty much wrapped in styrofoam and plastic, right? Which are horrible packaging options. But if you picture walking down the produce aisle, there are so many things that come loose that you can put into a compostable bag, or you can bring your own bags, which is what I do. So there's a lot of ways to buy plants package free and in bulk and stuff like that, but meat is pretty much always going to be wrapped in plastic. So while that's at like the more micro level, but it's definitely making a big difference. Like if you're, every piece of meat you're buying, you're contributing to the animal agriculture industry, but you're also contributing to all of the single-use plastic that is sent off to landfill. The plastic's never going to biodegrade. The styrofoam is certainly never going to biodegrade. It's very rarely comes in recyclable packaging. Packaging is another thing that animal agriculture, eventually leads to. So I'm not saying that everyone has to go vegan tomorrow. I think the biggest difference that anyone can make would just be the reduction of animal products. I know that going vegan is really daunting for some people, but it doesn't have to happen all at once. If you just replace one of those meals with something plant-based, your health will improve, and so will the health of the planet. If you're eating beef, per year you're using about 1,273 cubic meters of croplands. If you switch that to plants, it goes down to 126 cubic meters. So that's a reduction of 90%, which is pretty incredible. Greenhouse gases in general, if you're eating beef, it's 900 kilograms per year on average. But if you switch all of that beef to plants, it reduces to 33 kilograms. So that's a reduction of 96%. And nitrogen fertilizers, if you are eating an average amount of beef, it's 12 kilograms. But with plants, it reduces to 0.7 kilograms. So that's a reduction of 94%. So the immediate impact just of giving up beef is pretty incredible and really palpable. I know it can be hard to follow stats, but I'm a numbers person, so I really wanted to drive that point home because that's what made the biggest difference for me. But what I hoped to accomplish with this video was just to show people that just cutting out beef can make the biggest difference. And especially if you cut out all forms of meat, like you're doing something incredible. All around, I'm sure I didn't touch on everything, but those are like the main points that I wanted to make about animal agriculture. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I'll post some studies in the description. They help me the most, so hopefully if you guys look them over, like it makes a big difference to you. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. I hope you'll watch the next video. Alright, I will see you guys soon.